Hi, I'm Chef Gail Sokol and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're making pain au chocolat, and that's wonderful croissant dough with a chocolate baton or a chocolate stick inside. We're actually going to put two in. And you roll it up in a rectangular piece of croissant dough and bake it off so that there's hundreds of flaky layers. And when you bite into it, there's that wonderful melty piece of chocolate. Now in France, school kids come home and their mamas and papas give them a slice of French bread and a slab of chocolate. I can't think of anything better, but this is a little bit of a decadent way to serve a croissant, and they love these. These are internationally known. So I have a video that I made, croissants in a day, and this is based on that dough. So what I did was I made this dough previously and I cut it in half crosswise, all right? And you can actually see, remember this is a laminated dough, so watch that video so you can actually see exactly what a laminated dough is. There's hundreds of flaky layers once it's baked off because you have the dough, butter, dough, butter, dough, butter. Hundreds of them there, and you can actually see it. It almost looks like a book of fat with the little pages being the dough. So we're gonna roll out this half to a 16 by 12 inch rectangle. And we're gonna take a nice floured surface, and my dough is nice and cold because you don't want that fat to melt. And in this case, it's butter. If it melts, there goes your flaky layers. So we're gonna cover this in flour, and then we have a pastry brush to brush it off. And you see what I'm doing? Because the fat is still a little bit firm, and you really want the fat and the dough to be the same consistency. But you see what I'm doing? I'm not just rolling any old way. I really want to make a rectangle, and I don't want to ruin my layers. So this is not the time to re-knead this dough. This dough has been folded carefully 3 times so that the flaky layers go up exponentially into the hundreds, all right? And that's exactly what I've done in my croissants in a day video. And it's really a wonderful, wonderful recipe. And this is a really decadent way to serve croissants. Of course, you can do other fillings, savory or sweet, but this little croissant snack or breakfast, or you could serve it, I don't know, sort of like a dessert if you really must push it, but it's absolutely spectacular. So again, we're going for 16 by 12. Use your muscles. You will see some of the fat sneak through. You can actually see it, all right? You don't want it to come through onto the rolling pin. If you do see that, you're gonna actually cover it with a little flour. Okay, that's the secret to keeping the fat in the dough. All right, so I'm gonna keep on going. And because it's cold, it takes a little while to sort of warm it up and get it to relax enough to roll out. All right, so now I'm gonna try to go this way, because if I measure, we're about at 12 now. All right, but remember we want 12 by 16. And I want this to be my 16. So we're gonna make rectangular shapes, small rectangular shapes, and that's how we're gonna roll up our sticks, our chocolate sticks, also known as batons. Not that you wanna put them in a parade and actually twirl those batons. Those are yummy batons. And these are special sticks made just for croissants and just for pain au chocolat. Now, why are they special? Well, sort of like the chocolate chips that you might buy in the supermarket, they actually have not as high a cocoa butter content, which means they're not going to melt the same way that a piece of, let's say, milk chocolate or dark chocolate would melt for eating on your tongue, because you really don't want them to melt in the oven. You want them to actually stay in one piece, because that is what you want to have when you bite into your beautiful pain au chocolat. All right, so I'm seeing a lot of little bits of butter, and that's perfect because that's exactly where your beautiful layers are coming from. This has been layered, so even though it looks thin, this dough, it's layered with dough butter. And I mean hundreds of layers. All right, so let's see how far we've gotten. Let's measure it. So we have almost 13 here, about a little over 13 there. So I'm gonna roll this, keep going. You have to be patient when it's been in the fridge. You also don't want it to be too warm, because that's when your butter melts out. So if it's a really warm day and your kitchen's really warm, don't make pain au chocolat or croissant dough on that day. Try to make sure that it's a relatively cool kitchen when you do it. All right, and this is a yeasted dough, so there is yeast in there, so there'll be a little bit of the fermentation process will happen and create carbon dioxide inside our dough, which gives it a beautiful lift. All right, so we are at 16, yay! And we're at 12, yay! Now I want the 16 to be this way, so I'm gonna lift it up. I'm gonna lift it up and rotate it. And gently, you don't wanna stretch it too much, but I just wanna check my size. So I lost a little bit because it can be a little stretchy and sort of boing back a little bit. So we're just gonna reaffirm that 1 extra inch by re-rolling. Okay? And again, when I want to make this more of a rectangular shape, I roll to the right, down the middle, and then on the left. And it actually keeps everything a rectangle. All right, so we got 16. This is probably the longest in about 12. So what I want to do now is I want to cut the little scraggly edges off, and we're going to make this ultimately 15. Remember, it's 16 now by 12. We're going to make 15 by 12. And we're going to make 10 glorious pain au chocolat. So I'm just going to take and make this into a 15-inch by cutting off a little bit of the scraggly edges. All right, so I'm just gonna take my ruler, and you do want to have a nice ruler with you. You can actually go to a hardware store and get a nice ruler. Hardware stores are great places for bakers to find lots of tools to work with. And you're just gonna go straight down because you're gonna use it as a straight edge as well. And you're gonna take this and remove it, but don't throw it out. You'll bake it off later for yourself, and you'll eat it. Yum, yum, yum. All right, so now we want to get another, we want to make sure that it's 15. All right, we're going to just take the scraggly edges off. So I'm just going to go down, just go straight down, okay, and get that scraggly edge off. All right, now at this point, we want to divide it in half. So if this is 12, we're going to divide it. So where it's 12 now, so we're going to go where 6 is. This is where 6 is. All right, and then we're going to do it on this side. And we're going to do 6. Then we're going to take our edge and go straight across. All right. If they're not perfect, don't worry about it. There's no pain au chocolat police. Don't worry. They're still going to come out delicious. And now I want to put my measuring stick back on. So I have about 14 and a half to 15 at this point. So I'm going to do every 3 inches, whatever that makes, every 3 inches. If you want to make them bigger, make them bigger. If you want to make them smaller, make them smaller. So 3, 6, 9, and then I'm just going to divide this one in half. And I'm going to do the same over here. Okay. 3, 6. So this, you'll probably be making approximately 10. And I might make a small one right here because my dough shrank a little bit, and that happens. And it does happen. So I'm going to just make rectangles now. So I went across ways. Now I'm going to go this way. Okay. Okay. Any cuts that are not perfect will be hidden inside, don't worry. Sometimes you make a triangle when you make your pain au chocolat, but we are going to be making rectangles. So what you do is you're going to take your first rectangle and you're going to take 2 batons, and these are dark chocolate batons, and you want them to sort of stick out a little bit. I like when they stick out. You're going to put them one on top of the other, and you're just going to start rolling real tight, 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 okay? And seam side down on a parchment lined sheet pan, and they're going to have to rise for about an hour or two till they get nice and puffy. So what I like to do is I have a nice proofing setting on my oven. Some people have those and others don't. So if you do not have a proof setting in your oven, what I recommend you do is take a glass pan like this. Make sure it's Pyrex and it's heat resistant, and you're going to pour some hot water into it, and you're going to put it at the base of your unlit oven, and then you're going to put the sheet of your pain au chocolat in there. Now, you never want to put pain au chocolat or croissant dough into a really hot proofing oven or an oven that's just a little too warm. The reason is all the butter that's in there will actually melt out, and it will actually look like they've had little accidents. So you don't want to do that. So I'm going to continue rolling these and filling up both my sheet pans. And this is only half the dough, remember. So if you want to continue, you can actually use the other half the dough and make pain au chocolat as well. This should make about 10 per half. 10 pain au chocolat per half the dough. And I am going to leave them into my proof box or my unlit oven for about an hour or two. And I'm going to egg wash them before I do that. So I have 1 egg mixed with 2 teaspoons of milk, and I'm just going to gently egg wash each one. So I egg wash it before I proof it, and I'm going to egg wash it again before it goes into the oven to bake. All right. So I'm going to finish rolling my pain au chocolat, put them into the oven to rise, and I'll see you back here in about an hour. Look at these gorgeous pain au chocolat. They are amazing, and they look like you want to devour them. So if you recall, we let them proof in a unlit oven with either a little warm water or hot water on the bottom in a Pyrex container, or I have a proofing area in my oven that I can just turn on. Some ovens have that. And I let them proof for about 1 hour. They needed to get a little puffy. Remember, they have yeast in them. Then I took them out of the oven and I let them sit at room temperature till I preheated my oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a hot oven because we really want to get some oomph in them. All right, then I egg washed them one last time, put them in the oven, and lowered the temperature immediately to 375 degrees. And just bake them for about 18 minutes till they're nice, crispy, golden brown, and voila, they're gorgeous. Now you can put a little sprinkling of powdered sugar if you want, but it's gilding the lily, you know. But they are amazing. These look so unbelievable, like you have been in France. So if you want to have some pain au chocolat, please make my croissant dough in a day and have so much fun with it, and make these pain au chocolat. You will not be sorry. I hope you become a subscriber. Until next time.